Welcome. As I've told you, every single Wednesday night, I bring you a personality, someone that has dedicated themselves to crypto, someone who I consider a crypto lifer. These people are people I've met, outside at industry parties, at events, or someone that I've been online with or actually have had interaction with on a game show or some type of other place. This is my man, CryptoBlood. Many times we've been together on Around the Blockchain. I got to meet him in Miami. He's been a great person to know. He's reached out to me also in hard times. Such a blessed person to know. I'm awesome. Want to have him on the channel as much as I can. Everyone, my man CryptoBlood. How you been today, man? How you feeling?
Hey, Sammy, cup and handles. Is that you, right? You do the cup and handle Sammy thing, right?
Yeah. That's
okay.
I'm that dude.
All right.
Yeah, I was that guy.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Dude.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm good, bro. Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure, and I think we're gonna have a great conversation and really help the viewers today. Hopefully we can give them some alpha.
You always bring a lot. Whenever why I always wanted to have you on the show is whenever I was on Around the Blockchain with you, I would always tend to listen more than I wanted to talk, because I was like, man, second I had the show with you, I was, man, I want to get to know this guy better. And then we got to go deeper and find out we had so much more in common. And that was awesome for me to learn. We were like, binary stars in a way. So, and I think there's way more for our relationship in the future. Like, I'm excited to see what happens with us, Crypto Life,
bro.
CryptoBlood.
The UFO UAP situation is a whole nother topic we got to talk about. We got to talk about it at some point.
We can monetize our entire. We probably have to make a whole new podcast on that entire thing. You know what I mean?
I might have you on over the weekend.
Yo, man, I'd love to come on.
Rumble uncensored.
Yeah, that's great. Sure. Yeah. That would be my first time. So I'd be pretty excited. You'd be popping my Rumble cherry there.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
So one thing I want to discuss and that I talk about on my channel is I try to educate, just like you do. It's cool. We love to make gains, quantitative trading, and what you do, and I respect everything that you do and what I do and playing with charts. But like, I also like to educate people. Like, some days I like to take a break from the charts and say, listen, like, let's actually ask ourselves why we're here. You do that all the time. Like, you have a mature oversight into kind of where you're going, and that's where I really like. I think I even look up to you at. You're kind of a mentor figure.
I appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate that. And so thinking about it, like Jerome Powell, we're gonna get to 2%. And I always tell everyone, like, they're printing money to zero. Go to history. I go to this place called the Fiat Graveyard, and I go through like all these dollar bills. They're $50,000 bills, $1 million bill, and like, they existed. People don't realize, like, you can see, like, they've made these $100,000 bills before multiple times. You know what I mean? They've had the currency.
Remember when $100 bill? Let me see if I got a $100 bill here. Remember when these things right here used to be worth something, bro? Do you remember that?
Yeah, you got one, and it was like, wow, right? Yeah.
If someone brought out a C note, oh my God, you balling like Jim Jones.
Yeah, you were it was like, oh, he got a $100 bill on him. Like, whoa, who's that dude? Like,
means nothing today, my friend.
The small face, man.
The small.
But it means never seen that. They've never seen our small face, right? They only know this like monopoly looking money that we have now.
Yeah.
No, my mom,
bro.
We used to go to the store and get milk for 5 cents and a quarter, and I'd come back with 5 cents and I'd get everything. I was like, and it's funny, my mom was creating the crypto lifer back then, right? Like, she was instilling. And so as I got older, I was like, wait a second. It costs like $8 now. Like, something's not the same. Like, it's gone up $7.50 for these same items.
Even a $20 bill was significant.
It really was.
We're around the same age. So I remember in high school, your parents would give you, early in my high school years, like freshman, sophomore, because by junior, late sophomore, I was a working man. I was out in the workforce. But a $20 bill. Mom Dukes give you a hot 20, you're good all weekend.
Oh, that's well, it's so weird you said that. I'm visiting my mom, and I'm in the room that I grew up in, like, when I was a kid in our summer, when I would summer in. And my first job ever was like directing cars at this little it was a farmer's market, and they'd pay me $10 an hour. I couldn't believe it. This is like 1992 or 3, right? That was huge. Like, my dad was like,
$10 an hour.
My dad was like, get in there. It was like 4 hours because I had to prep, and then I had to do the cars and then like clean up,
That's good.
So I'm making $40 on Saturday morning once a week throughout the whole summer, and I was like 11 or 12. I don't even know about the labor law, whatever. They just, I knew someone. They were like, yeah, he can come on and help. and I would get these $10 bills, and then every once in a while, maybe a $20 bill, and I'd put them in a shoebox. And like, it just, you're saying this to me because I just remember the significance of like holding a $20 bill, and I was like, whoa,
Correct.
like it was heavy to me. It was a big deal. So,
Absolutely.
and now it's,
For-
you go to the movies now. I brought my daughter to the movies, and if she wants the popcorn and we get a drink, I smuggle. I'm crazy, right? I could be the richest dude in the world. I don't want to drink the soda in the garbage. You know what I mean? So I got like nuts. I got like pecans and nuts in my jacket. I got like a thermos with like organic OJ. Like it's so funny, but like when I had to give my daughter like the
That's
giant, I had to
crazy.
give my daughter like the giant popcorn, but it was like 30-40 bucks or something just to take your kid to the movies now.
Oh,
Like
it's a
it's
48 bucks. I just did it last weekend.
$50 to take your kid to the movies.
50 bucks. 50
I saw
bucks.
Transformers though. It was dope with my daughter. Like I have to admit, it was amazing.
Nice.
Like it was lit.
Nice.
But so with us paying all this money, we're talking, and this is
Hmm.
what it means. I don't know if you have kids. I never asked you that. I
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. I got a
Yeah.
2-year-old son, 2.5-year-old son, and an 11-year-old daughter.
I got a two
I
and a
got a
half year old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter. So we're kind of like
COVID
almost in
kid.
the same boat. We're
Yeah.
pretty close,
Yeah. Yeah, we had a COVID kid. Yep.
Yeah, because got
Just at home.
we could talk
Bored.
about that for days. Just sitting, man, sitting. You remember that?
Sitting.
I don't. We can't say it now, but it was like that meme that was going on. It was like that little kid. It was like, I'm bored. He's like, I'm bored and I'm in the house bored, and I'm bored in the house, and I'm in the house. It was like,
I haven't seen that one.
it was like this. But so families are getting hit. Like this is kind of
Yes.
why in a way. This is why we go live every day, because we love
Mm,
cryptocurrency, and we may not know what exactly happens at the end of all this, right? I'm
sure.
open-minded to believe it, you know what I mean? Like, but we're trying our best to get out of fiat currency for now, and we can do the balancing act as things continue. You know what I mean? It's
This is literally Sam, this is literally our only option. This is
mm,
the last option for us. There is no other option for us to be outside the fiat system. So this is it. Whether it works or not, we're trying.
amen.
And that's all we can do.
So Jerome Powell says we can get to 2%. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I've never believed that, but do you think it's possible? Like, and like, is there some skewed metrics in the way that say maybe things aren't as bad
very
as they
skewed.
are? And are you on the recession side? Are you on the going to print money? Like, where do you see us going as we head into
Yes.
2024? And do you believe more in the cycle of Bitcoin, no matter
Uh-huh.
what? Like the halving
Right.
doesn't matter, Bitcoin does its thing, or are
Right.
you on the fence that like, oh well, Bitcoin's never seen a recession yet, and all this, I've never asked you.
Probably the latter. But there are so many moving parts. So let me answer. Good question though, as far as the
It hit me as I was
inflation
thinking about it. I was
numbers.
like, man, I really want to know these things. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. So I want to direct people to go to a site called shadowstats.com. Okay. John Williams, legendary statistician, maybe an economist as well. I don't know, but he's darling, like he's a legendary guy in Wall Street, on Wall
mm,
Street.
mm,
For those looking for alternative data points on inflation, employment, unemployment, all that stuff, right? So his number for inflation is currently at just below 8%. So he uses the old CPI model from circa or pre 1990, I believe. So he's got us at about 9 or just under 8%, I should say,
mm.
with the what the real CPI inflation number is, or how it was calculated in 1990 and before. They just move the goalposts.
And
They
that can
add numbers,
skew,
takes.
just to
Hmm.
jump in, but I'm jumping right out. And that can skew from like 8% to 10 or 12, depending on like someone's living status too, right? Or like how they're, you're on a fixed income, 8% might turn into an 11 or 12% inflation in a way. You know what I mean?
Right, it
Like,
hits it does hit you harder, right? It absolutely means more. The more money we make, as you know, the lower the propensity to spend money is, the more wealthier you are in proportion to what wealth you have, right? So if I'm
mm,
a lower middle class individual,
mm,
I'm probably spending about 90% of my earned income just to maintain. But as I grow up the economic scale or ladder, I'm making 250, 300, 400, whatever it may be, $1 million a year. That person that lives at the lower middle class level, we both have to pretty much do the same thing, to maintain life. It may vary a little bit. Some people may go to Kroger's. I might go to Plum or one of those fancy grocery stores. But all in all, we're very close as far as the basic needs that are needed. But look how much more I have left over after my basic needs are met. So yes, you're right. It definitely hits people harder the less they make. But it's a lie, bro. They move the goalposts. They change the way they formulate inflation numbers. So I like looking at shadowstats.com to get a better indication on where we are. And currently, he has us around 8%, just shy of 8% CPI or inflation. So very far from. I think there was a Zero Hedge article you sent regarding inflation, and they were trying to say that we were near possibly the 2%, but I don't believe so.
Yeah, I
really
wasn't
don't.
into the whole idea either. Like, I didn't buy the article. But
It has come down,
do you
but
think we
it's
could get
never.
there? Do you think we could ever get to 2%? Like, do you think Jerome Powell can continue to raise rates and that he would actually that would actually stop the amount of fiscal spending that's going on? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think so, man. I just can't see us getting back to 2%. Probably 4% is the new normal, and that's 4%. Their 4%,
yeah,
their
yeah,
number,
which is
their rig number.
it's a
Right,
fake number, yeah.
right. Yeah, exactly. So I would say 4% is probably the new normal. And that's bad. That's double the inflation where the old number was. 100% more than the 2%. So that should let people know, like, there's a paradigm shift. Unless we have a deflationary environment, which is possible. We're in stagflation right now. But if we have a deflationary environment, then yes, you'll see inflation, the number come down below 4%, maybe to 2 or lower.
So, and to the last part of the question too, like, do you believe that Bitcoin will follow its own cycle regardless? Or, I mean, I know we need the liquidity, but is there a chance that, regardless, the whole world realizes that other currencies are just iffy? Banks are showing signs of, just not being too support, basically people not believing in them as much. Do you think we still get a Bitcoin cycle after the halving, even if we get a recession? Or do you think we get, Bitcoin can get swallowed up basically by world markets?
I unfortunately think that Bitcoin initially will get swallowed up.
Okay.
Okay. It will get initially swallowed up. That's the operative word there is initially. So it won't be saved. It won't be saved from the slaughter that's going to come in the equity markets, in my opinion. And it's going to get hit harder than the equity markets get hit. The crypto markets will. But the bounce back, Sam, is going to be phenomenal.
Okay.
So that's the thing. It is a timing thing. Then if you don't want to play the timing game, just understand that you're going to have to hold through that low.
Yeah, get your scuba gear out.
Yeah, and wait for the
You might be
the light
underwater.
at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're with me. Like, their numbers aren't even real, so they're never going to be able to get to what they say they're getting to, because what they're getting to doesn't exist, right? Like their 2% isn't even real anymore. Like, it's not reality. So whenever I hear Jerome Powell talk, and like I see all these people with degrees and all these different journalists asking these serious questions, and some of them never get their true answer either. I mean, they're like, they look at him kind of funny at the end, like, you never really answer the question,
Yeah,
and it's so funny to watch him. Like,
yeah, it's been a shift though, because he was saying that their decision was based on XYZ, and now it's data dependent, meeting to meeting. So what's the point of having a press conference afterwards if literally what you say today means absolutely nothing by the time you meet next time, and you're going to change your mind?
every time they ask him if something matters, he's like, well, we think, we want, we thought what we, and I'm like, wow, there's just so many assumptions and ambiguity here. Like, it's so open to, well, we did our best, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what they're gonna say at the end. It's like,
Exactly.
man. And how did you first get into crypto? Was it like, did you go through, like, I remember talking to Robin at Sin City, like, he got like screwed by the banking system. It pissed him off. Like, you know what I mean? For me, I just really like thought about my hardworking parents. I came from hardworking Boston, and I said, man, they worked real hard. And when I found out that they print money and you know, the fiat currency. I was like, man, my parents have been getting like their wealth stolen from them, and it made me a little angry.
Right.
Did you like what was it? What, you know, what was your experience with cryptocurrency? Like, did you bump into Bitcoin
My
early or?
experience, yeah. I bought it in 2013 in March
Mm,
of 2013, and what led me even to that point was, '08. Like, I thought I knew a little bit about financial markets, but when '08 happened, the veil was lifted, and I said, "Oh, I don't know if I can curse on here, but oh snap, this is not what I thought it was." And I
yeah.
think a lot of people did. So I started diving deep, going down that rabbit hole, and like from '08, maybe '09 till 2013, I just did a lot of research, a lot of reading, found Zero Hedge. I know you know about Zero Hedge. Found that
Oh yeah.
site. I was an active user and reader of Zero Hedge for many years back then. And so, Zero Hedge, I have to credit Zero Hedge for putting me in contact with Bitcoin. There was an article back then in March of that year, 2013, that I was reading late at night, and it just clicked because you got to understand, I was trading then Forex, but I also had a software engineering background, so I was a coder. I had ran my own web development company, so I kind of understood kind of both constructs, finance and
Mhm.
kind of tech. And so when I read it, I immediately, Sam, said, "This is it.
Yeah, it was like, oh,
This is it, bro. This is it." So didn't know it was gonna make me money. I just knew it was an alternative system, a parallel universe, if you want to say, to our current, at that time, monetary system. So that's how I jumped that
well,
night, man. I went and bought. So it was
That's what I kind of like about
history.
Bitcoin. It attracts a lot of people that weren't money hungry. They were just like
Initially,
they
yeah.
were like rabbit
Hmm.
hole hungry, or I can't, or just more energy. Like they were following their passion and energy like into the digital realms of,
Libertarians,
you know,
a
just
lot of
kind of
libertarians back then
ten
in the
thousand
space. A lot.
dollar pizza, man. The $10,000
Yeah.
Bitcoin pizza, crazy, a
Oh, I've
multi-million
blown a
dollar
lot
pizza
of.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've blown a lot of money. Satoshi Dice, what's up, man? Can y'all pay me back a little
He
bit?
just didn't realize, just like wrong.
Didn't know.
Oh man, you know what I mean? But that's, you know, it's pretty awesome. See, like that's what I want this channel to be a channel where people remember like where we came from, you know?
Exactly.
You know, like
And that's why my channel, people say, "Why is your channel called I Hate Crypto?" Well, it's kind of an attention grabber. Recently changed it to that, but it's more so because I do hate a lot of, and hate is it's a I don't really hate these people or this part of the industry, but it's just a again, attention grabber. Um, I don't like the direction we're going in crypto in
Mhm,
many cases. I'm just from the old school of crypto. Like, leave us alone. We've built this or found this new
mhm,
parallel universe in the monetary system. Let us be over here. Don't regulate us. I know we're going to talk about this at some point. Don't regulate us. Leave us alone.
mhm,
Regulate what shit you got going on, and let us do what we do over here.
mhm.
But in 2017, we saw a shift where the greed, in my opinion, got to the best of us, and we wanted regulation. It was going to come anyhow.
Yeah.
I'm a realist. I understand that the bigger industry gets, the regulation comes.
Mhm.
But we were begging for the regulation, Sam, and want the regulators to come in and just validate us, give us the validation we need, And regulation definitely does bring in new money, bit more money, because it is a regulated industry at that point. Now,
Totally.
you've got real capital that can come
And
in.
you got hedge
So
funds that would just slap it in there as like a diversification.
exactly.
They just like, 3%
Right.
into that. You know what I mean? Like, just like, and then if you have
Exactly.
all
So
those
you're
doing
talking
that, now you got
trillions of dollars.
so much money
Trillions of
pouring in.
dollars.
Yeah.
Correct. So I understand the allure, but yeah, I'm from the old school, man. Leave us alone.
I mean, I had an epiphany right now. Like, it's funny. You always make, I think you spark great ideas, man. You know, I think
Thank
that's
you.
kind of the individual you are. When I'm
Appreciate that.
around you, like, I'm like, oh man, but my thought right now I was thinking was, I don't want it to get too popular. Like, it's still unpopular enough I believe some
to
people don't
gain
believe this.
financially
I believe you
from.
can still get I believe you can still get rich off Bitcoin. Like I believe you put 100 grand, maybe you have to have like, $250,000, but I believe you put 100 grand into Bitcoin,
Yeah,
like say you had
that's
200 grand right now and you were going to put it into Bitcoin or into like a real estate development project. Like I'd still
yeah,
consider maybe Bitcoin could beat it out in the next 6-7 years. Like,
I
yes,
agree
even
with you.
with cash flow, even with the renters paying, even with like a double up on the rental property, like you still might beat out. Like, you know what I mean? Because
No,
like,
you're going to. I agree
yeah.
with you,
So people
lifer.
think so. I'm kind of excited, you know what I mean, that we're still having this conversation, that it's still, I don't know, like the average person with, like basically sitting on a few million still isn't sure if Bitcoin's like something they should even slightly diversify into. Now, every time I meet someone intelligent, like, met Gary Cardone, right? Dude's not a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Dude he
Mm-hmm.
was like, he didn't explode. He's like, I have a very large position. He's like, for someone of my net worth, he's like, I have a very large Bitcoin position. And it's like, everyone I know that seems to be like someone that would jump on and go to the new world. You know what I mean? Hey, like, they're hating on us over here. Like, you want to get on this boat and find out what happens? And like, they see the waves, like it's kind of 10
Mm-hmm.
footers, 12. It doesn't look good. It's like, but you're like, you know what? I'll die out there on the ocean to find out what freedom is. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I feel like those are the type of people that become the most successful, man. You know?
Yeah, I
So
agree. You got to take the risk, and you got to be you have to be a contrarian,
at one
honestly,
point,
to make.
me and you were both against the grain to meet. Like,
That's right.
yeah, you know what I mean? I think that's why what brings people together in crypto now. Like, we all were swimming at one point. Our parents thought we were weird, or our friends thought we were strange. Or people have lost girlfriends, wives have divorced people over cryptocurrency. I've talked to numerous
For
people.
sure.
He kept buying and I didn't believe, I'm like, then he's all rich and he's like, I told her, it's like,
Right.
or he's broke. He's like, I told him,
I told
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I showed you so.
Yeah.
That's what they say. I showed you so, not told you so. I showed you so.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
man.
I agree, man, and it's okay. That's just how the world operates.
Now,
But you just
being an OG, one thing you said is you didn't like the way crypto was going,
mm-hmm.
What's your take on the Sam Bankman-Fried case? I'm
Industry
happy. I
plant.
thought there was a time where he really wasn't going to jail. So like, I'm at least,
No, I knew. I
okay.
knew, and
Yeah.
he's gonna do about 20 years, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he's gonna do a good 20.
Mm.
But that's still, I mean, he's only 30. So, you know,
He'll get out at
still have
50. You're ready to rock. Like,
yeah, you're ready to rock. Ready to rock. All those payouts to the Democratic Party, he can kind of try to redeem on that check.
someone's gonna have a son or a daughter or someone
Yeah,
still in there.
hopefully, he can do something, but I don't think it's over for him. I think I think mentally, he is on the spectrum, I believe. I believe he is on the spectrum, so a lot of the things that he does or have been doing since on house arrest just doesn't seem logical.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's a smart individual, but it's like he's missing some screws there. Like,
That's
you
kind of the
don't
case, isn't that? With like a
understand.
lot of the smartest people in the world, like
Yes,
there's
for
some people
sure.
that can
Look at
tell you the day.
Elon. Look at
What are those people
uh-huh.
that can tell you the day of the week? The other day,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the street. A guy walks up. He has like, he had like a deformed hand.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless anyone. I don't want to put any bad nature out there.
Right.
He had a deformed hand. Walked sideways. Came up, talked to my buddy, and they were talking. And he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "When was your wife born?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, like April 8th, 1974." And he's like, "It's Tuesday," And like I yelled into the, and he's like, "The guy can always do that." And I had heard about it online, like on like A&E and stuff like that. Like I'd seen some type of
Okay.
show, but I'd never seen it in real life. He's like, "Yo, that," and like the dude looked like just like a very simpleton, but dude, he's like,
Yeah.
"Yo," he's like, "That dude has a weird brain. He'll know you can tell him any date of the year." In the last 50 years, he'd tell you the day of the week. And I'm like, how's he
That's
doing it? He's like,
weird.
I was like, how? I was like, even with the leap year? I'm like, you don't mess up with the leap year? Like, the leap year throw him off. You
Wow.
count 365 back, and I was like, with the leap, like, how does he, because I saw he's like, try mine. So I said mine. He's like, you born on a Saturday. And I'm like, I was like, I always knew that because my mom said you were born late Saturday night, like at 1 a.m, but it's funny.
That
I was
is
like, yo,
crazy.
I was born on a Saturday, man. Like, how did you know that? So it's like,
Yeah, Sam Bankman is
he's on
industry
that,
plant.
he's on
Yeah,
that level.
he's on that level. He's definitely an awkward individual, but I think he was a plant
Mm.
to try to and the whole scheme just got exposed. So I
Mm,
think what they were trying to do through him, through Sam Bankman-Fried as a proxy, the government was trying to get regulation to basically make a few players within the United States the big dogs, the
mm.
J.P. Morgans, the Rockefeller,
It was getting close.
of
It looked like
the
something was going
era.
on there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So it all came unraveled
There was
from,
some white hat
honestly,
in there.
no, it came unraveled from the bear market.
Mm.
I think that's what did
The
it.
lack
If
of
we would have,
liquidity exposed.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. If we
Yeah.
would have had, if the bull market would have continued, he probably would have succeeded. So maybe we need to be thanking the crypto gods for bringing that bear market in to expose old Sammy,
Mm.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
It's weird
Yeah,
to hear my name so much involved, but it's not me.
I know.
It's like, dang, what? And it's weird. His last name is Bankman, right? Like, it's so weird. Like, it's almost prophecy, like in his name. I don't know.
Yep, Sam bending forward. Shout out to, I forgot who said that on the last episode of Around the Blockchain. They were coming up with all types of
Oh
acronyms for
man.
Sam SBF, but yeah,
So
he's going to be bending forward.
it's
Nah,
funny. I've always had like a bit of an instinct. And the other day, someone was saying, Donald Trump has $500,000 worth of crypto. And I think it was on ATV. And I said, that's funny. Like, that's a lot. Like, I think he'd have more than that. Like, you think it'd be like a couple mil at least. I said, 500 grand. I said,
mm,
considering how much money he has and considering how many people did buy those NFTs, I figured and they sold out. And
me
then
being one of them.
he did 2 rounds. My
He
wife
did.
bought freaking like she loved, like she went in, like it was like, I don't like discuss my political views. I'm kind of still in the middle, but
Oh, okay.
I want to start a blockchain. I want to start a blockchain party, technically, you know what I mean? But I'm all about freedom. I'm a libertarian, man. I'm all about the Constitution.
Okay.
Like, so like if you follow the Constitution, I'm more about you. So that's really how I am. You know what I mean?
I got you.
I'm from Boston, Paul Revere. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so those kind of came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has 2.8 million now. Like it says he has more in his wallet.
Yes.
What's your take on that? Do you think
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he should have gotten into more? Do you think he'll come around to Bitcoin? He was a little bit negative of Bitcoin, right? Wasn't it 16, 18 months ago or something like that when he was asked?
Yes.
What's your take on that? Like, do you think he'll come around? And
No.
are you interested in anyone that's coming out now that like Vivek Ramaswamy is a very interesting candidate to me. Like I
Yes, I
really like
like
hearing
him.
what's coming out of his
But RFK Jr. Is a proponent of Bitcoin and cryptos.
yeah.
He's got some crypto,
Yeah.
250,000 or so. He just had to disclose. I don't think Trump would would ever admit that he likes Bitcoin,
Okay.
specifically Bitcoin. Even if he does, because Bitcoin is a direct threat to the dollar hegemony.
Yeah, and he likes to keep
So
that USD.
anybody
Yeah.
in office is going to want to keep the dollar the king.
Mm,
So I don't see. That's why RFK Jr. will never become president. That's why
mm.
anyone who says they literally come out and say they like Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, they're never going to be in office. It's never going to happen. So I think his son has convinced him that crypto is
Mm,
powerful,
mm.
but he would never say it publicly. He would never say it publicly.
I mean, yeah, well,
Um,
he makes sense. You got to play the role too as well, right? I mean, if you want to, yeah, he's a businessman.
yeah,
He loves America. He's going to keep it the US dollar all day long, right?
yeah. In order to love America and the way to be economic, uh, you know, the economic powerhouse, the number one, you have to have the dollar be king.
It's
That's our
interesting.
last.
It's interesting. Everyone's down on the dollar, right? You hear a lot, but like I always kind of like see these last minute things, and I'm always willing to be open minded to myself and play the devil's advocate to myself. And every once in a while, I see people saying, "Well, you know what? It could become more. It's getting more popular. Like, and even there's even more impoverished nations that get introduced to the U.S. dollar every day, and it actually could gain even more strength throughout the world and become even more used. In like, did you ever think about that? Like, the dollar actually isn't
Yes.
as weak as people think, and
It's not, and the thing is, I know you heard the news about India doing a settlement with their oil. I think they did their first cross bilateral whatever transaction with Saudi Arabia for oil. It wasn't in dollar, it was in rupee, I think, in their currency, I believe. Yeah, they're going to continue to do that, but everyone forgets that 99% of the debt outstanding worldwide globally is denominated in US dollars. So it's a feedback loop. The countries have to continue to get their hands on dollars to pay back their debts that's denominated in dollars. So until the whole thing like crumbles, I don't see it actually shifting from the US dollar being the king. I just don't see, because there's so much debt out there that's denominated in dollars that these countries have to pay back in dollars. So it's we're in a great position. And you'll see, of course, companies or countries continue to de-dollarize, but it's not going to be enough to make the dollar not be king and the dollar be necessary like it is.
Yeah. Because people live in this dream world, like Bitcoin will become the world currency, and like in 10 years from now, it'll be like the United States reserve currency. And, you know, it would be cool, but is that, you know, I always see you always kind of look at me. Sometimes I even have some like outlandish ideas, and you'll come back on ATB like, I love you, Sammy, but like, you know what I mean? I think you're drinking a little too much of the Bitcoin juice, man. You know what I mean? You gotta look at reality, man. You know,
Bitcoin as the world reserve, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, will not work. Will not work. And it won't work because of humans. Why would a country want to shackle themselves and make themselves be responsible? It just doesn't make any sense, right? The whole point is to be able to deficit spend as much money as you want to, promise everything to everybody, the politicians, that's what they do. So I don't understand why, in what world would both left and right come together and say, hey, let's shackle ourselves.
Let's be on a nice balance sheet where everyone can watch what
let's
we're doing.
Limit ourselves. Never, Sam, never. It'll have to be some crazy that happens by force. And at that point, ain't nobody thinking about Bitcoin being at $1 billion or $1 million.
I always say that to my wife. I'm always like, if things get that worse, I was like, you're gonna be like trying to get in a boat or something. Like, I don't know what you're gonna be doing.
Bitcoin like, at $1 million should actually worry. You should be worried about.
Yeah, Bitcoin exactly. Because that means like the aliens are coming.
The shit is over, bro. Exactly.
Well, they're already here now, I guess. But you know,
they're here. So
the wrong ones are coming. Who knows? Right?
Oh man. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, we could segue into that now. But man, this has been amazing. I really appreciate your time. Every time you come on, I definitely feel like I'm like talking to a professor or someone that's had, you know, a long thought about the information that I'm asking you about. And definitely not your first rodeo much, in finance. Man. Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, I used to run a CTA, a commodity trading advisory firm, back in 2016 with a partner of mine. And traded my own money and equities and options a little bit back in the day. So no, I mean, this really is my first passion, finance. So I don't watch too many crypto videos, even though I create crypto content. I'm watching UFO shit. I'm watching finance, you know, like the geeky stuff, bro. You wouldn't believe what's in my timeline, but that's the stuff I'm into, man.
M1, M2 money flow, and just like
there you go. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Things that like it's funny, like I get into finance and then I realize like it's just like every subject, like it gets deeper and deeper and you can get as nerdy as you want with it. And
you can.
And then what's cool though, when you get super nerdy, then you see a post on Twitter and you're like, man, if it wasn't as nerdy now, like this wouldn't excite me. You're like, wow, like the yield curves, like wow, you mean the long-term yields coming down? And you're like, oh no,
exactly. Like, you know, inverting like, and all this. Yep. And, so that's my passion, bro. So I just hope that people see that in my commentary when it comes to crypto. I bring a different angle sometimes that will hopefully help people prepare themselves for what's coming next. Again, I think just to summarize, I do think we're going to see a dip in Bitcoin before we see the rise.
Okay.
What price is that? Nobody knows.
No.
You know, no one really knows. You know, you can go week to week with it, but
exactly.
I can't tell you what Bitcoin is going to be in 3 months.
I would say I have no idea. I know nothing to the fact of my own ignorance. I will tell you if we need to break, like I'll just say we need to break below the 200 SMA on the daily. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
certain things need to happen. Like and then I'll come to that state. And I always say to everyone,
Correct.
if you look
Let
at
the
it every 5
market
to 6
talk
hours,
to
you don't have
you.
to predict it. You know what I mean? You just have to. It will tell you. Yesterday was a bear flag. I went to bed. I said there's a
Okay.
highly likely chance this is going to 29,
Okay.
$47, whatever, right? Took some time, came back up by 10:30 today, this morning. It was like $1 to the target of the bear flag. You know what I mean? And I said,
Mm.
like, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, it was a bear flag. Like, and you get to the point where your subconscious mind just says, I've seen that pattern and it plays out
Mm-hmm.
this way more than it plays out the other way. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
didn't even need an oscillator or an indicator. Like, it was just like,
Yeah.
you know,
And just the last thing for the audience, we are at a 6-year low in volatility on
that's
Bitcoin.
crazy. That's
And I
crazy.
think all-time low in Ethereum, which is it's insane. So that lets me know that we have a big move on the way,
And it means if
Sam.
you're creating content, like you have like you have like staying power of steel right now. You know what I mean? Because it's like just the attention, the you know what I mean? Just the whole like Google search, like it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like
Dead.
watching tumbleweeds right now out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For
But we're
sure.
still it's still
Y-
exciting though. Like I still find crypto
well, that's
exciting, you know?
that's the thing. You're not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for I'm definitely not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
I make money in other ways. So yeah, I do it for the passion. I love doing these videos. I love educating. And it is who it is. I'm having a great time on Rumble too. I'm
Dude,
no shadow banning on Rumble, so I'm growing fast over there.
interesting. Interesting. Everyone, my man CryptoBlood. And where can they find you? Most people know, but there's always new people on the channel. I'm catching them. We've
Yeah.
had a bunch of new people recently actually jump on in because I got to jump on Crypto Banter, and that was
Okay.
a
Nice.
really good community over there that really responded to me really well. And so yeah, where can they find you, CryptoBlood? Where can they check you out? And then just one
Yeah.
last couple words. You already really hit it off, but any last thing you want to say? And then I'm out,
Sure.
everyone. Have a great morning, day, afternoon, night, no matter where you are in the world. We love
There
y'all.
you go. Absolutely. Yeah. Just you can find me at CryptoBlood _ on Twitter. Search I Hate Crypto on YouTube and Rumble. Check me out on Rumble. CryptoBlood on Rumble. That's where all my uncensored content goes down on the weekends. I might try to get Lifer on this weekend. We'll see what his schedule looks like. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. Bloodalytics.com. Check me out. That's where I do my quant trading. It is automated on fairdesk.com. So come holler at me. 1 month free going on right now. So come check us out.
Check it out.